Imagine having a mind so sharp that even impossible problems seem simple. That was Solomon, a king in the Bible whose wisdom is still studied today. But what made him so wise, and how can his lessons help you make better decisions today? His story is more than just ancient history. It's a masterclass in strategic thinking, human psychology, and effective leadership. Whether you're navigating a complex business deal, a personal relationship, or just trying to make better choices in your daily life, the principles that guided Solomon can offer you a powerful framework. So, how did he acquire this legendary intellect, and what can we learn from his rise, his triumphs, and even his failures? Let's dive into the mind of one of history's most brilliant thinkers. Solomon became king of Israel after his father, David. It was a time of transition, a moment that could have easily been defined by power struggles and political maneuvering. But Solomon's first significant act as king was not a military campaign or a grand construction project. It was a prayer. When God appeared to him in a dream and offered him anything he desired, Solomon didn't ask for wealth, a long life, or victory over his enemies. Instead, he asked for an understanding heart, the wisdom to discern between right and wrong, and the ability to govern his people justly. This request revealed something profound about his character. He understood that true leadership wasn't about control or personal gain, but about service and responsibility. God was so impressed by this selfless and humble request that he not only granted Solomon unparalleled wisdom, but also threw in the very things he didn't ask for: immense riches, honor, and the promise of a long life provided he remained faithful. This is the first crucial lesson from Solomon's story. Genuine wisdom begins with humility. It starts with acknowledging what you don't know and prioritizing understanding over accumulation. Before you can solve complex problems, you must first seek the clarity to see them for what they truly are. One of the most famous stories that illustrates Solomon's wisdom is the case of two women and a single baby. It's a brilliant example of how he saw through deception by understanding human nature. The scenario was a classic, he said. She said. Problem with no witnesses. Two women who lived in the same house had each given birth. One baby died in the night, and now both women were claiming the living child as their own. They brought their dispute before the king, and the court was stumped. How could anyone possibly determine the truth? But Solomon wasn't looking for evidence. He was looking for a reaction. He called for a sword and, in a moment of shocking drama, declared his judgment. Cut the living child in two, and give half to the one and half to the other. The court must have gasped, but Solomon was watching the women. The false mother, driven by spite and selfishness, readily agreed, saying, "Let him be neither mine nor yours. Divide him." Her heart was revealed in her cruelty. But the true mother cried out in anguish, "Oh, my lord, give her the living child and by no means kill him." She would rather give up her son than see him harmed. In that instant, Solomon had his answer. He had created a test that bypassed their words and exposed their true motives. The lesson here is powerful. True wisdom often lies not in analyzing facts, but in understanding human emotions and behavior. It's about looking past the surface and seeing the heart of the matter. Solomon didn't just apply his wisdom to dramatic life or death situations. He also distilled his insights into practical principles for everyday life, which we can find in the book of Proverbs. These aren't just ancient religious maxims. They are timeless psychological truths that are just as relevant today as they were 3,000 years ago. For instance, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. This is a fundamental principle of de-escalation and communication. He advises us to think before we speak, recognizing that our words have the power to build or destroy. Another key piece of advice is to choose your friends wisely. Solomon understood that we are the average of the people we spend the most time with. The company you keep shapes your thinking, your habits, and ultimately your destiny. He also stressed the importance of planning for the future, warning against the dangers of short-term impulses that lead to long-term regret. Think of the ant, he said, who works hard in the summer to prepare for the winter. This isn't about being rigid, it's about being strategic. And perhaps the most foundational principle of all is self-discipline. Solomon taught that the person who has control over their own spirit is mightier than someone who can conquer a city. Self-control is the bedrock upon which all other wise decisions are built. So how can you start to think like Solomon in your own life? It's not about having a supernatural gift. It's about adopting a specific mindset and a set of practices. First, observe before you act. Instead of reacting impulsively to a situation, take a step back and analyze it from multiple angles. Gather information, listen to all sides, and resist the urge to jump to conclusions. Second, seek understanding over quick solutions. Our culture often rewards speed, but true wisdom values depth. Ask why repeatedly until you get to the root of an issue. Why is this person behaving this way? What is the underlying need that isn't being met? Third, look for the truth beneath the surface, just as Solomon did with the two mothers. Pay attention to behavior, not just words. People's actions will almost always reveal their true intentions and motivations. Fourth, consider the long-term consequences of your decisions. It's easy to be tempted by short-term gains, but a wise person plays the long game. Ask yourself, if I make this choice, where will it lead me in a year? In 5 years? And finally, learn from others. Wisdom is cumulative. Read widely, find mentors, and study the successes and failures of those who have come before you. By consciously applying these steps, you can begin to navigate the complexities of your life with the strategic clarity that defined Solomon's reign. However, the story of Solomon also comes with a critical warning. Even the wisest person in the world is not immune to making mistakes. Later in his life, Solomon's judgment began to falter. He accumulated vast wealth, married many foreign wives to form political alliances, and allowed their different cultural and religious practices to influence him and his kingdom. These actions directly contradicted the very principles he had once championed and the guidance he had received. His personal desires and political ambitions started to cloud the wisdom that had been his greatest gift. The consequences were severe. His decisions planted the seeds of division and conflict that would eventually lead to the fracturing of his kingdom after his death. The lesson here is profound and humbling. Wisdom alone is not enough. It must be paired with consistent discipline, unwavering humility, and constant self-awareness. No matter how intelligent or insightful you are never above the risk of self-deception or temptation. The same discipline required to gain wisdom is required to maintain it. Solomon's late-life failures serve as a powerful reminder that wisdom is not a destination you arrive at, but a path you must continually choose to walk. So, what are the key takeaways from the incredible life of King Solomon? His story teaches us that wisdom isn't just about accumulating knowledge or being clever. It's a rich combination of deep insight, clear discernment, strategic patience, and disciplined self-control. It begins with the humility to seek understanding, as Solomon did in his prayer. It's demonstrated by the ability to see through deception by understanding human nature, as shown in his famous judgment. And it's applied through timeless principles for daily living, like those found in Proverbs planning for the future, choosing your influences carefully, and mastering your own impulses. By learning from Solomon's triumphs and his tragic mistakes, we can transform how we approach our own decisions, solve our problems, and navigate our lives. His legacy proves that seeking insight over impulse, considering long-term consequences, and maintaining humility can make you not only wiser but also more effective in every area of your life. The story of Solomon is a timeless blueprint, showing us that true wisdom, when applied consistently, really does have the power to change everything. Thanks for watching. If you found this valuable, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit from a little more wisdom in their life.